Hello everyone and welcome to yet another recreational programming session with Mr. Azozin. So some time ago somebody in our Discord server actually posted a link to this interesting thing. So it's a library called microui. So it's a tiny portable immediate mode UI library written in ANSYS. Right, so and it's like 1,000 lines of code or something like that. So it's rather interesting. So I decided to put that on my to-do list for Slopics and stuff like that. And yeah, so we're gonna take a look at that. So it can actually do UI, and yeah, it's immediate mode, right? So for those who doesn't know immediate mode, like it's kind of funny. Like people like to use immediate mode because this is what Dear I'm GUI is called. But how many of you know the sort of lore behind the name of like immediate UI? What the fuck is immediate UI? Do you guys know? Like who even coined that? Why they even coined that? Like it's just like what? 2005 Casey Morituri. Yeah. So the idea here is that he sort of like drew a parallel between immediate mode graphics APIs and retained mode graphics APIs. And the idea here is that retained mode UI would be that before displaying your UI, you would build a tree. Right, so you would build a tree, then you give that tree to some sort of an engine or to some sort of like event loop and stuff like that, and then it will display it. So you retain the structure of UI up until like actual display. Immediate is that you have these functions which allow you to just basically immediately start doing things. Or for example, begin window, and it immediately creates a window, right? Then you do label, and at that specific moment it will draw a label and so on and so forth, and then you end label and it kind of cleans up some of this stuff, right? So it does things immediately, and you do not explicitly create any structure, any tree or anything like that, right? So it doesn't do any of that stuff. Right. What's interesting is that it doesn't mean that immediate UI libraries may not do something to retain some things, right? So for example, the label may not actually draw a label right away. So it may retain some stuff in some sort of a global state. Or look at that, like it's passing a context in here. So they actually made it explicit. So as far as now, Dear I'm GUI, for instance, trying to actually make the state implicit. Yeah, so as you can see, you don't pass any state or anything like that in here. And this is because they store that in a global variable. Oh no, a global state. Please put restitions away from the screen. They should not see that. They're using a global variable. But anyway, so some libraries may use a global state, some sort of a global state. This library apparently uses an explicit state, right? So yeah, they may retain a little bit of a things, but generally their API behaves like they are immediately doing that stuff. Right, I guess that's basically the distinction, and because of that, it feels like that immediate and retained is actually not really a binary relationship, and it's more of a continuum, right? So because you can actually retain a lot of things in the context as you call this function and stuff like that, or you can retain less. Right, and it's actually, you know, a gradual process, right? So it's sort of like some sort of a continuum. Anyway, so I think I'm going to put all of these things in the description, all right? So let me actually put that stuff in here. So yeah, so this is I'm going, yeah, so this is the correct one, and microui is going to be also in the description. Let me actually copy paste it in the chat, so I hope it is available for everyone. Okay, so and there's some screenshots and stuff like that. So notes, contribution, blah 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 blah. I don't see any fucking make files, right? So I looked already into that a little bit briefly before the stream, and I didn't see any make files, so it's a little bit sus. So I suppose you're just supposed to compile this entire thing, right? So you're just like supposed to compile or whatever, maybe link, right? So that's how simple it is. That's how fucking simple it is. So we can take a look at how big this entire library is. They said it's 1,000 lines of code. And they didn't lie, right? So it's right about 1,000 lines of code. Look at that. That's actually pretty cool. So, and we can take a look at the interface, right? So there's some constants. I don't give a shit about them. There's some enumerations. That's pretty cool. So that's what C language allows you to do. There's some structures. Look at that. They even utilized structure feature of a C programming language. Even unions. That's amazing. They looks like they do in fact know how to use a C programming language. So let's actually maybe clone this entire shit. Oh, there is some demos, by the way. There is some demos and stuff like that. Renderer. Okay, that's very interesting. Ah, you have to implement your own render. I see. Oh, with such a small library, right? So the entire render, you supply your own fucking renderer, you do all of this OpenGL shit, you do all of this Vulkan shit, yeah, it's all on you. We are a small library. That's how we, it's none of our problems. It's half of the library, it's on fucking you. It's, okay, I see how it's done, okay. Anyway, so can we use raylib with that? Right, so what's the interface of the renderer actually? I'm kind of curious. What's the interface of the renderer? So you have initialization, right? And suppose this is the functions that the library itself is going to call, right? So the library itself is going to call. So initialization, draw a rectangle. Okay, so we can draw a rectangle with raylib, right? So we can in fact draw a rectangle with raylib. So draw text, we can in fact draw text with a raylib. Draw icon, okay, that's pretty cool. Get text, where? So you supply get text width, I'm sorry, right, so it's for measurement and stuff like that. You can do that on raylib as well. Set clip rect, so I suppose this is something for the clipboard. I think it is in fact also possible with raylib. So clear, also possible, present, also possible. I think we can easily map all of these functions to raylib, right? So should be doable, I'm pretty sure. Let's fucking clone this motherfucker. Okay. So this is gonna be prob, and I'm gonna git clone this entire Shaisung. So what do we have in here? You know what I want? I wanna right away maybe try to compile this entire thing. I don't want to look into a demo, right? So it's kind of cool that they have a demo and stuff like that. I'm not interested in that, right? So first of all, it's kind of clunky and big for a simple example. I want to explore this shit myself, right? So because if I understand correctly how it works, right? You're supposed to supply your own renderer. If I just try to compile this entire library, it will fail at linking stage. Not being able to find all of these functions like r_init, r_rect, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Right, so let's actually do that and just follow the linking errors and stuff like that and just fill them in. Because I think it's much more interesting than reading some stinky demos or some docs and stuff like that. We can do that a little bit later if we get stuck, right? But so far, from what I see, I think it should be, self-explorable, right? So I think it should be self-explorable. Anyways, let's fucking go. I'm gonna do maybe makefile. So let me find what's the name of the executable. It's literally microui. So let's actually go ahead and try to do microui.o, right? So, and let's say that this specific thing depends on .h and .c, right? And I'm literally gonna just do, C, compile this mother flipper, right? So let's just create this entire thing. Microui. Oh, fuck. This is because it is located in src. All right, so let's put this stuff in here. Boom. And it created it, right? So, and here's O file. That's pretty cool, but it's not usable for anything, right? So let's actually create something like main, and let's actually include something like a microui.h main, like so. Actually, I just realized I don't really have to create an O file, right? I could have just created like main and I could say like you depend on main.c and all the header file and so on and so forth, and just like compile this entire thing. And yeah, so main.c. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to compile properly because it won't be able to find the header file, right? So it won't be able to find the header file. Right, so as you can see, it doesn't find the header file, but we can fix that by saying, okay, so search for the header file in here, right? So oh, that is already fucking interesting. It didn't fail at linking stage, but this is probably because we didn't use any of the microui functions. So they kind of got eliminated probably, and that's why they were never linked or anything like that. So that kind of makes sense. So let's actually, you know, try to test that hypothesis, right? So let's try to maybe create a window, right? So that's how we do that, right? So this is basically what you do. We might as well just copy paste the whole thing. Let's just copy paste it, right? So I'm gonna put it in here, and where's my main.c? Boom, and let's see what we have in here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. If I try to build it, aha, so it needs to, you need to create the context. This is not a complete example. You never explained to me how to create a context. Like, I know that there is a demo and stuff like that, but I was hoping that I can just copy paste it and just like it. Okay, so again, I don't want to read documentation or example yet, right? I'm glad that they do exist, by the way. I'm glad that they do exist in case I'm stuck. But so far, I think I should be able to just like figure it out. Right, so what is the context, right? So it's a macro that calls to begin Windows XZ, right? So it's a new context. Okay, that's very interesting. And it's a, don't tell me it's an opaque, oh, thanks God. I thought it's an opaque structure that I have to allocate with some sort of own allocator and stuff. It is actually completely open structure, the size of which is like very much known. And I'm super happy about that. So this is initialization of the structure, and also begin and end. I'm a little bit concerned about this example. I'm a little bit concerned because I don't know if I like have to do a init in here or anything like that. Let's actually see. So I'm gonna go in here. I think I do need to do init. Yeah, so because they use a little bit of a polymorphism, look at that. So they have some function pointers and stuff like that. And if you just allocate this context on the stack, right, as I would usually do, and my usual philosophy is that if I allocate something and 0 initializes, this is a valid state, right? So it's pretty convenient because it doesn't require any initialization or anything like that. Right, so, but you still have to initialize it in this specific case because you need to set these functions to something that is kind of valid. Honestly, maybe I personally would do something like if like this specific pointer is null, maybe set it to something default, but nah, I wouldn't do that, right? So if I were implementing that, I would be also too lazy and I would just like create initialization method. Anyway, so let's just call initialization method, right? So here is the initialization method. And I suppose it's going to just like initialize this entire stuff. So I'm very interested what the fuck is begin, right? So what exactly does it do? It expects text width and text stuff like that, some frames and stuff like that. I don't fucking know what we need to do in here, but anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna just try to build this entire thing. I'm just gonna try to build and see how it's gonna go. Right, so it has to be, yeah, so not only this example is not copy pastable, right? So it just expects the context already to be a pointer when in our case it is not a pointer. Okay. So, and we also have to specify printf, which is understandable, right? So let's just include this entire thing. All right, so, and it compiles. And it still doesn't fail with linking, which is sus, which is kind of fucking sus. All right, if I try to run the whole thing, okay, so microui.c assertion n is greater than -1. Very interesting. Okay, so let's actually take a look at what exactly is going on here. 354, expect an pool. do I have to call this thing myself? So get container, who calls it? It's called by header and by some other things. I'm starting to feel like maybe I have to do mu begin, right? Maybe that's what I have to do, but I don't think it calls the poll or anything like that. Right, so this example is not supposed to be like a working example. It's sort of like a vibe. Right, it's sort of like a vibe. And I should probably look at the demo at this point, but I really don't want to. I really want to figure it out myself, right? So because like it's kind of cool to be able to figure it out, this kind of shit yourself, right? So we can try to assume, right? So, and if I'm gonna completely stuck, then I'm gonna check documentation and demo and stuff like that. I know that pisses off a lot of people. Good, stay pissed off. That's exactly why I'm doing that, because this is how I learn. If the way I learn things pisses you off, good, because people like you were a pain in my ass my entire childhood. That's right. Right, so because all of the teachers, all of my classmates hated the way I learned, and now this is my revenge. If that pisses you off, good. Stay fucking pissed off, because this is how I learn things, and that's why I know better, more than you. Fuck you. So anyway, right. So this is gonna begin. We're gonna try to do begin and end, and hope that maybe it is going to call some function or do something, right? So let's see. We must deal with the screen person. Anyway. So let me see. So we initialize this entire thing, and like this only makes, well, by the way, I feel like you kind of have to also do that in some sort of a loop, right? So there's no loop organization here or anything like that, right? So let's try to do begin and end, right? Let's try to do begin and end, and I'm going to try to recompile the whole thing. So if I go to semicolon, okay, so this is already a different error, right? This is already a different error. I made a pretty wild assumption. And by the way, in terms of the this kind of thing, there's no documentation on like how to use these functions or anything like that. Anyway, so let's actually go here, 139, and it expects text width and text height, which is rather interesting. So do you have to set it yourself ever? Right, so text width and text height. Right, because you never really, yeah, so it's a function. Ooh. And it's, microui.h. Yeah, so it is a function. So do I have to set it myself? All right, so yeah, so right away it's not clear how to use it. Like right away it's not clear. I guess we have to look into the demo, right? So it kind of, so the thing is that it makes it feel like you can figure it out on your own. It makes it feel like you can figure it out, but in reality, no, you have to go into the demo, right? Like it's not obvious. Sadly, so we didn't pass the obviousness test, but that's fine. That's normal for the current state of the tech anyway. All right, so let's take a look at what we have in here. So maybe we can find some clues and stuff like that. First of all, you have to allocate the context on heap. Do I really have to allocate? And you have to set the text width and text height yourself outside of the initialization. I thought initialization is gonna set up everything within the context for me automatically. No, you have to actually know the internal structure of it and set, okay. So you know what would be interesting? Like if you require to set text width and text height, you could make it explicit by accepting them through initialization, right? So because of that way, like it is kind of obvious that you need to initialize the context, and we figured it out pretty much instantly. As soon as I saw context, I also noticed that, okay, there is initialization for the context, right? To make it obvious what other fields you need to set, you could have made them the arguments of that function, and that already self-documents it better. That already self-documents it better, in my opinion. But anyway, right, so, and those are the functions, right? So if I understand correctly, right, so those are the functions, right, so, and, oh, are you serious? Get text width. So it's not even the library that calls the renderer. It's something specific to the demo. Demo literally debated me. Wait. So if I go and just search for microui, none of these functions are even called in this. Well, it doesn't mean this library is bad, right? So it doesn't mean this library is probably pretty good, but it's just like it's a little bit disappointed. It deceived me into thinking that that's a bait. That's straight up a bait. Right, because if you look like, it feels like, oh yeah, this is the interface that you have to implement. But no, that's not, that's so sad. Because honestly, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. Right, so you have a UI library and you supply your own renderer, and the interface of the renderer is this, which maps perfectly, fucking perfectly to raylib. So somebody who knows raylib would see that and say, oh, I can just use that. But okay, we'll know that. Right, so here's the renderer itself, right? That doesn't matter. And what else can we have in here? So do we have to do anything else? Where I kind of lost main. Okay. So and I have to pull events myself, and I have to like push them into the library through that, which is understandable, right? So this is totally understandable. So then we clear the color, and Rect Command, then you process the frame. But by the way, why am I looking through GitHub? I could have just looked in here. So there's a process. Why do you have some spaces in here, Bravskis? All right, so process the frame. And this is where you start, right? So you do new begin style window, but this is already custom things. Then you begin a window, right, and so on and so forth. New label, new draw rectangle, and new draw rectangle doesn't even call. Right, so it feels like you only have half of the library, and the other half of the library you have to implement yourself. Right, because if that wasn't the case, the demo would not be 1,000 lines of code. Yeah, this is just the demo. The demo is 1,000 lines of code. Well, I mean, okay, so this doesn't count. Yeah, so this comes from this resources stuff. It just comes from this resources stuff, okay. So, which is understandable. I think Olive C is kind of like that, right? So I do not blame the creator of microui that they did it like that. So I have a similar situation. Like a lot of 3D stuff is not in a library, but in a demo itself. But I do plan to move it into demo at some point, right? So in here, half of the library is in a demo, and you have to provide it yourself, right? So, which is kind of interesting. So what's the goal of this library, by the way? I'm a tiny immediate model of the library. So round 1,000 works within built-in control scrollable, works with any rendering system that can draw rectangles and text. Well, yeah. Designed to allow the user to easily add custom controls, simple layout system. I see. Lab expect the user to provide input and handle the resultant drawing commands. It does not do any drawing itself. Aha, that's very interesting. So it basically issues the drawing commands that you have to implement yourself. That is very interesting. Our excitement shot is this somebody famous? Like, I don't know who this is. Apparently this is somebody famous. I didn't know them. Now I know. So did they create something like more cool stuff? Oh yeah, okay, lightweight text editor written in Lua. Oh, that's pretty cool. I even liked it. Wait a freaking second. I don't remember it. So yeah, like every time you have a lot of likes, a lot of stars, remember that half of the people don't even remember that they started. So because it's a reflectorial thing. Microui, a tiny embeddable language implemented in ANSI C. Embeddable language. Oh, it's a Lisp. So this is a fellow recreational programmer. So this is a really fellow recreational programmer. A lightweight JSON library for Lua as well. Look at that. That's actually super cool. Anyways, but we are currently looking at microui. Right, so because people suggested me that in the Discord and I got interested, so we'll need to figure out how to use this kind of stuff. All right, so we're off to a great start. Right, so we're gonna embark on an epic journey because I don't want to just copy a demo. As already said, I want to fucking use raylib. Fuck SDL. Fuck SDL. I want to use raylib. If your demo uses SDL, I don't give a shit. I want to use raylib. So that means we have to like go through the entirety of the journey ourselves, right? Literally ourselves. Okay, so what we have in here, the overall structure when using the library is as follows. Initialize mu context. Okay, main loop. Right, so in the main loop, you constantly call mu input functions. Okay, let me take a look at the mu input functions. So this is a macro mu input. Here they are. Right, so something happens, you just feed that information into the context. Okay, so then you do begin, you process UI, and iterate commands using mu command next. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, honestly, right? So I really like that. I really like that. So getting started, right? So why do I have to do that on a heap? What's up with obsession of the developers of this library with heap? I want to allocate it on a stack or in a global variable. Like, why do I have to do that on a heap? What are you, a Rust developer? You don't look like a Rust developer. Like, why are you so obsessed with heap? Stack Overflow. Okay, put it on a global variable. What the fuck is this shit? I'm gonna allocate it globally, statically. Fuck this system. I'm not gonna be doing this shit. Anyway. So, following which the context, text width and text height callback functions should be set. Right, so we already figured that. In your main loop, you should first pass user input to, well, we already know that, right? So then begin. Before any controls can be used, we must begin a window using one of the begin window, begin pop-up, blah, 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 blah. All right. It is safe to nest windows and shit. Okay, I got it. I got it. Okay, well, whatever. How do we iterate le commands? How do we iterate le commands? So incremental mu draw control frame. Okay, so I'm interested in the mu command next. Mu command next. They don't even cover that. They don't even cover iterate commands, but I'm more interested in commands, right? So that's what's interesting, because how to use the library I can figure out from the API, right? So, but commands is kind of interesting. I think I can also figure it out from the API. That's true. Right. So let me see. This is why I hate writing documentation, because it gets outdated. Write your code so you don't need documentation, because code is the best documentation. Anyway, so there's something about command. Fuck. Anyways, all right. So next command, and I suppose you get this next command through this thing, So, and it's a structure, right? So is it a structure or is it something? Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, ooh, it's a union. All right. So, and basically it's a union of different commands, like a based command, jump clip command, rect command, text command, icon command. That's pretty cool. I really like the idea of this library, right? So it's just like you feed all of the data, then you give it a structure, and then you pull the commands, and you just roll them. Okay, so that's understandable. That's understandable. That's understandable. Union. So this is the main of the demo. Let's go ahead and just try to implement this entire idea, right? So I'm gonna just keep this the entirety of the structure, right? So let's actually not keep the stack on the the context on the stack. Let's actually keep it somewhere here. We initialize this entire thing, and now I'm gonna take a look at the usage, right? So we have to set text width and text height, right? So let's go ahead and do that, right? So this is the text width and this is the text height. And according to my understanding, right? So, and again, I'm going to try not to look at the demo too much, right? So I'm going to just be doing, only going to be looking at the usage.md and microui.h and microui.c, not looking into the demo, right? So I want to figure it out myself. Right? That's what I'm going to try to do. So this is what we got. And text height is a completely different function in here. Okay, so that's understandable. That is understandable. So we've got this kind of thing. So on top of that, maybe I'm gonna actually log that, microui text width like so, and this is gonna be text height. Would be also kind of interesting to take a look at the definition of this it's not even a structure. Okay, fine, you're not supposed to know what it is. Okay, but I suppose maybe you can still explore what is a font, right? So if you pass it to some of the functions and shit like that, no, you can't even inspect it. So you can't even fucking inspect it, right? So it's just like, okay. Like I can't even know the size of it or anything, or just like some sort of property. So it's just like, it's an opaque thing, right? So opaque thing that you have to shuffle around. Fair? Okay, so it's none of my business then. None of my business. All right. Fair. Okay. So then we do mu begin, process UI, mu end, and handle commands. So we already have to, I think, start initializing, raylib and stuff like that. So let me comment out all of this stuff. Right, I'm gonna comment out all of this stuff. Make p. So I'm gonna put a dot in here. And yeah, that seems to be compound. All right, so let me, so now let's go ahead and include raylib.h and see what's going to happen. Right, so it can't find that because we have to put an include in here. So as far as I know, I do have raylib in my opt folder, right? So I usually put it in here. So this is a home opt raylib, right? So, and I'm gonna put include in here. So that's basically the stuff. I think I have to do it like that even. Yeah, I do in fact have to do it like that, and that seems to be working. Okay, so then I'm gonna try to do the following thing. Begin init window, right? So init window here, we're gonna say hello microui, and it's gonna 800 and 600. So this is what we're gonna be doing here. So I think I actually did something incorrect in here. First is the size and only then the name, and it can't link this entire stuff, right? So because you need to do raylib.a, right? So that's one thing you have to do, and you also have to specify where to find all of that stuff, right? So this is going to be lib right, and now it wants the math library, and let's fucking go. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. So initialize the window, right, and that's about it, honestly, right? So that's about it. And here, what we have to, this one is interesting. This one is interesting because raylib kind of does what microui does, right? It already kind of pre-collects all of the events. It already pre-collects all of the events, and it is available for you at your disposal, right? So yeah, I don't fucking know how we're gonna be doing all that, but we'll see, we'll see. So let's actually try to organize the event loop. Right. Let's try to organize the event loop. So it's gonna be while window should close. Window should close, and we already can do things like is key pressed, right? So is key pressed. Since raylib doesn't work with events directly, right? You have to check things like that. Is key pressed, is mouse clicked, and so on and so forth. And if you wanna feed that information into microui, I suppose you have to iterate each individual key and check if it was pressed, right? And then feed that information into mu input or something like that. So let's actually take a look at like how it does work. So mu input, right, key, yeah, exactly. So, and this is actually kind of funny. So get key pressed, right? So raylib has that, right? So you say raylib has that. So let's actually double check. Raylib, get key pressed. So get key pressed, key code called, okay. So, and then it returns 0 when, okay, so that's actually pretty cool. Thank you so much. So we can use that to feed that information in there. But maybe for now, we should not care about the input, right? So let's just like draw things. Let's just draw things. I'm gonna grab this entire stuff and put it in here. But I suppose we also have to do begin drawing, right? So we begin drawing. So this is one library and then end drawing. Right. It's kind of interesting how we interleave in APIs of two libraries, right? Raylib and now mu, microui, right? So microui. So that should be enough, right? So let me see. It all compiles. Surprisingly, it all kind of compiles. So now what we have to do, we have to iterate through the commands. So let me go in here, mu next command, and it returns integer. Look at that, which I presume means that if it returns 0 or 1, that means you have to stop. So, and on top of that, by the way, it accepts a pointer to the command. Man, that's it's a very confusing signature. So let's take a look at the source code of microui to just figure it out what exactly it does. So if you point at something that is null, what am I looking at? What is this? Oh, right. Okay, so the reason why I was confused, the reason why I am confused, in fact, because I was expecting the signature of this thing to be very freaking simple. One pointer, which means I can just allocate, silly me, thinking that it's going to be that easy, allocate this thing on a stack, and then while mu next command ctx pointer, granted, pointer to CMD, switch CMD type, and if the type is 1, I do one thing, type in another one. So this is the most fucking logical thing. Like a lot of libraries do that. This is the industry standard to pull things from some sort of a queue. What? What? I can't even think of a reason to do things like that. That's why I'm so confused, because like this is the most logical thing. This is what you want to do. All right, let's try to dive into the brain of the developer. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So, this is a pointer to a pointer. So, we dereference it once, right? And if it points at something that is not null or whatever, we dereference this pointer, cast it to a character, then we, so we skip the base, if I understand correctly. So there's a little bit of a weird pointer arithmetics going on here. Mu command. So this is the base, and the base, right, so it's a little bit of an OP situation in here. I suppose we just skip the base. We skip the base. Otherwise, we have an internal list of commands, and we just do that. So if there's something there, it will skip to the base, and so on and so forth. So, is that to prevent copying mu command? Is that to prevent copying mu command? So it expects you to allocate it somewhere. I'm so confused by this API. Okay, this is the second time I give up and go into demo to get an idea how to use this freaking API. Like, I could not figure out what's the use case of this entire thing from just the code and just the signature. Because again, if it was just like that, the use case would be obvious. As soon as you do that, what the fuck are you even doing in here? All right, okay, second time. Okay, let's go to the demo. And let's just see what's the use case. Maybe it's just like a divine intellect and I don't understand that. Okay. Okay. Why? Okay. I suppose the only explanation I see is to avoid copying the heavy structure Muse CMD is. I guess that's the reason. But I mean, if you just allocate it somewhere, you just feel it. Right, so you essentially, it makes you reuse the library, the memory that this library allocated, right? It points to the internal elements of some sort of a list or something like that. So looks like walk in a linked list. Oh no, let me actually, it's not, so so you need to provide the previous pointer so it can figure out the, oh my god. Why? What's the point of this? Okay, fine. If that's how we want to do that, okay. So that finally explains it. Iterator pattern. It's not really overcomplicated. It's just like somebody worked too much with Java and C++. I can feel that. Somebody was too much. Do they? This reminds me of something. This is literally the case of a particular coding style. Do you guys remember? Because we also had pure C in there, and I had very specific expectation of that code base being pure C, and then I got hit by the most enterprise shit I've ever seen in my entire life. This is literally a particular coding style. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as Lagrange was, right? So it's still recoverable, but this is there's a particular smell to all of that. It's just like I'm kind of worried. Like, what? I'm gonna get hit by even more bullshit. Anyway, enough of that. Let's continue coding. Let's continue coding. All right. So let's fucking go. And it's almost like this pattern, right? So it's almost like this pattern, but anyway. Right, so we're gonna have something like that. And obviously all of the microui fonts are gonna be hating me for this kind of rant, but I mean, I'm an honest person, I just say what I think. I'm sorry. Nobody pays me to say these kind of things. I'm being like that absolutely for free. So this is just my honest opinion, right? And it's not that bad, right? So it's just like it's a quirk of the API. It's a quirk of the API. It doesn't mean the library is bad or unusable or anything like that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So mu command. So what do we have in here? So this is a type. It would be kind of cool if it would obvious where I can find the definitions for these types, right? If there was a separate enumeration which I could jump to, but it's just an integer in here. Unfortunately, so it was a mu jump. I remember there was a jump command, or maybe a mu command. Yeah. Like, I mean, couldn't you just do something like mu command mu. Like, why? Or type, whatever. Like why? 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 I have so many questions. Why? Why? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just like. So I guessed wrong. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So let's actually go and just switch up on these things. Oh, and Max, we're not supposed to do this kind of things. All right, so let me do this kind of stuff. So I'm also thinking, so we're pulling this entire stuff, and if we're going to do that in a bigger event loop, it's probably going to be just spamming things. So after we've done one iteration, we might as well just abort this entire thing, right? So what I want to do is I want to trigger a bunch of commands, and I want to see what kind of commands we even have in there, right? So that's basically the idea. Let's fucking go. So raylib, did I fuck up something? Yeah, so it should not. Yeah. I was modifying this library. Should have not done that. Okay, so ctx is a pointer, right? So that's understandable. Abort is somewhere in a standard library. That's understandable. stdlib, and yeah, that seems to be compiled. Let's fucking run. And yep, so we got the commands. We got a lot of commands. Damn. Not only that, we got some calls in here for. So yeah. So now what we have to do, we have to go to all of these places and just implement all of that, right? That seems to be pretty straightforward. But before we do that, I would like to maybe have some additional information, right? So for example, text, right? So I want to just print something like this. I suppose what I have to do something like that. So this is a len str. Let's see what kind of text it is trying to get the size of, the width of. Let's find out. I think this is going to be very fucking interesting. All right. And it didn't print this shit because I probably supposed to do. I forgot to recompile. All right. So let's fucking go. My window, first button 1, second button 2. Are those things related? There you go. Here they are. It is actually trying to probe their sizes and stuff like that. But since it doesn't have a renderer, it's our job to do all of these things. So interestingly, as far as I know, where is raylib? So there is a text measure. So a measure text. There, look at that. So, and unfortunately, it's a little bit annoying in the sense that it's not a size string. It's a null-terminated string. So we'll have to do something about that. Right, so what essentially, we already can implement all of that stuff. So we can just return measure text. Here's str. Font size, so we're going to be used as a font size. We can have some sort of a global font size. So let's put 69. Well, I don't know, 48. I think 69 is a little bit too big. Right, so it's going to be font size. And I'm not even sure, like, can I get the font size out of that? Right, so what is... Maybe, by the way, this is a opaque pointer because I'm supposed to provide it, don't I? So it's for me, that is why it is opaque. Did I understand that correctly? So if I take a look at the mu context, so was it a mu context? Let me see. Do you have mu font? Do I set it anywhere? Can I just provide it somewhere so it is always passed around? Mu style, I can probably provide a style where I set font. I have a suspicion that by default this thing is null. Let's actually confirm this shit. Let's actually confirm. I'm gonna put p in here. I'm gonna put p in here, and it's gonna be literally null. So called it. So my hypothesis about how this library works is that you provide your custom style, and within that custom style, font acts like the user data. You guys know what is a user data, right? So it's a user data part like in C and stuff like that, where you provide a function pointer, and the user data that is opaque for the library, but it's transparent for you. It just passed into you. So it's like closure. It's like closure. So that's what it is. We figured it out. Right. So because of that, we can just provide the whatever font size we want, right? So we're going to put the font size in here, but this thing is not null-terminated, right? So not null-terminated. But as far as I know, in raylib, there's a thing called format text or text format. It's basically a printf, right? So which creates a temporary string. It creates a temporary string. So essentially what we can do in here, we can just literally put this thing in here like that, and then provide len and str, and it will sort of like sprintf it into a temporary buffer somewhere in raylib static memory. So, and it will return it for us null terminated. We can instantly measure it. And since we don't need it for anything else, we can safely forget about it. It's not going to leak any memory, right? So it's like, it reuses the same buffer over and over again. So text format just like stores into like the same buffer that is temporary and reusable constantly, right? So each text format, as far as I know, invalidates the string, right? The previous string. So, and that's kind of useful for this kind of situation, right? So now I can just simply return the measured text. Look at that. Look at that, scheiße. Isn't that poggers? I think that's pretty freaking poggers. And for the text height, well, we can just say, since it's a monospace font, we can just return the font size as well, right? So that's way to implement that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So we just implemented these functions. So now what we need to implement is all of these commands. Let's take a look at the rect command. Oh, I think I did a fucky wacky. It displays more commands than it's supposed to. Who knows why? Anyways, let's pretend that you didn't see that. Let's pretend that you didn't see that. So, yep. And what I want to know is the width and height and, you know, like X and Y and so on and so forth. So let's grab a wrap. So mu command. So this is a rect command. Aha. And it gives you the rect. Ooh. That's pretty good rect. That's straight up a rect. And also gives you mucola. All right, so that's, oh, that is sexy. Let me show you. Let me show you. So I think it's a... Ooh. Ooh. They literally have the same representation in memory. You know what that means? I can take a pointer of like to this thing and pawn it to the pointer to this thing and dereference it, and it's gonna be the same. Anyway, so yeah, so that was a good idea to actually use raylib in here. I think that was a good idea. So mu command, this is not jump. I want you to do rect. So let's do some rect. Okay, so this is a cmd rect, and within the rect, so do we have to do rect twice? Bro. Okay, so but this rect is actually an integer rect, and the raylib's rect it's a floating rect, but we have a thing like a draw rectangle, right, where we accept okay, so that should be... How the fuck microui and raylib fit together like gloves? Is this intentional? If this is intentional, why they're using SDL? Or is this accidental? That's kind of weird. That is like, it's... I think it's a happy, almost a happy little accident. Almost. Well, I mean, if it was intentional, maybe it would have been easier to do this kind of thing, but I don't know, whatever. Right, so it's gonna be X, pause X. But they kind of almost fit together perfectly. It's kind of interesting. Width, and this one is gonna be height. I'm gonna just align this kind of thing like that. All right, so now I can just do boom, boom, boom. So cmd rect color, and this one is actually super cool. Look at that. So what I wanna do, I wanna get rid of the abort, and I think for now I'm gonna simply maybe remove all of these things. Right, so I'm gonna be removing them for now. Because I think now we'll be able to see an unfinished UI. We're gonna be able to see an unfinished UI. Let's fucking go. It didn't compile, obviously, but so what is just, what was it? Just W? It was just W. I see. So it can be that, and here we go. Here's the UI. We got UI. Yeah, it's pretty small, but I mean, it's UI nonetheless. Absolute training. So, and we didn't follow the demo, we didn't use the demo, we created our own renderer, and honestly, raylib is more suitable for microui backend than SDL. So yeah, it's an absolute training moment. It's a think. This is truly absolute training. This is actually kind of cool. So my verdict so far, I like this library. It has a little bit of a quirky API, but this is because I kind of ideologically disagree with that. So the way it does this kind of thing, I do not disagree that purely ideologically, right? Because again, you can do that. It works, and it's not even that different from how I would do that. So it's purely ideological thing, which is kind of difficult to objectively argue about. It's just like, it's a matter of taste, right? I kind of don't like that, but that's fine. The library is still kind of cool. This is cool. The fact that I was able to do that, it's freaking cool. So yeah, I really like that. Just a matter of taste. And as people say, I'm really annoying about my tastes, right? So but at the same time, I do not deny people to have their own tastes and be annoying about that. That's totally fine. So just like, yeah, I just being annoying about my tastes. So we're going to use microui to display btest using wasm. If we're gonna go into the web territory, I might as well just use HTML and CSS. I was planning to actually generate HTML CSS reports, right? So I didn't think it's applicable there, but it's kind of cool to keep in mind that you have this kind of libraries. So I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, so I suppose since this is the, this is the window, right? This is the window. You should be able to maybe drag it around somehow, right? But to be able to drag it around, you need to know the mouse, right? So where the mouse and stuff like that. So let me see. So I'm gonna try to run this thing one more time. I'm gonna try to click some, so as you can see, I'm clicking and nothing's happening, and this is because the UI doesn't know anything about that. So we need to actually give that information to it. So one thing I want to do, set target FPS, at 60, right? So it doesn't busy loop. Let's try to do something interesting. What if I say that the font size is actually bigger? Will that increase the size? It didn't increase the size of the UI, sadly. That's kind of interesting. So let's say if it's 100, doesn't affect the size of the UI, which is sus, which is kind of sus, but okay. All right, so all right, let's continue. So let me take a look at the microui mu input, mouse move, mouse down and mouse up. So we can just directly, maybe, call all of these functions. We can call them in here. So as far as I know, in raylib you have mouse, I don't remember. So there's a mouse button pressed. So you can do get mouse X. Is that a good idea, actually, to just constantly fit this thing in here? And I'm not even sure if it accepts the absolute position or relative position. I suppose this is something that we'll figure it out. Okay, so, and we also have mouse button down and mouse button up. Right, so in here, if mouse button down, or maybe more like pressed, right? So I suppose it's more like pressed. There's a difference between pressed. Click if a mouse button has been pressed once. Okay, is being pressed, and if it was released once. I suppose this is what it is. Yeah, I suppose this is what it is. So if it was pressed, we have to give that information to here. And we also have to specify what's the button. So in microui, do you have button? So the button color, mouse. Okay, mu mouse. Okay. Almost. So this is 0, but this is 1. Wait. Well, yeah, so... But they're shifted by 1, aren't they? No, not really. Nah. So middle, this one is actually... This is gonna be 2, and this is gonna be 4. Yeah. You can shift 1 by the value, yeah. So if you have, so for some reason I feel like I need to make a small break. I feel like it's probably obvious to map one thing to another, but my log button, but my brain is not working. So because I need to somehow, so this is a literal logarithm, right? It's a literal logarithm. Okay, let's actually make a small break. And after the break, we'll see how we're gonna continue. Okay. We are back, meine Freunde, we are back. So I don't know if I can easily do any conversion in here or anything like that between the things. One thing I could do, actually, I just realized, if I'm checking, if I know what button was pressed in raylib, I can just use that value of the button as the right-hand side of this operator with 1, and this is how I can convert that to microui. But at the same time, like, how do I even do that? So, mouse pressed, is mouse button pressed? Get, so is there something like a get mouse button? Because as we already know, get key pressed. Okay, but is there something like a get mouse button? Okay, so they have that for keys, but they don't have that for mice. All right, so that means we have to like literally check that sequentially or something like that. Check that sequentially or something like that. Let's go ahead and do that then. Let's go ahead and do that. We can, though, do the following thing. Mouse button left. So, what we can iterate int button left until it is equal to middle, because that's the only thing we're supporting here, right? Right. So, and essentially, if that button was pressed, we are reporting that to the context. We can provide X and Y, right? So it's a get mouse X and a get mouse Y, something like this. And now we should convert the raylib button into the microui button. So let's take a look at the definition of both of them one more time. Mouse button. So mouse button left in raylib is 0, button microui 1, 0. This one is 1, but this one is 1 shifted by 1. This one is 2, but this one is 1 shifted by 2, which makes the conversion actually very easy. So 1 shifted by button. There you go. So, and now if you have released mouse up, I don't know if it's gonna work, like we're about to find out. So might as well also maybe grab all of these things and just have them as X, and also something like Y, get mouse Y. So something like that, Y. I'm a little bit annoyed that this is not aligned. Is that better? Is that better? It should be better. So because raylib supports more mouse buttons, but microui supports only 3 of them. So that's why we're limiting iteration from left to middle. It's kind of like, it feels almost intentional. And if it works, it's gonna be fucking awesome. But it feels intentional, right? So why is it even like that? Sodian is Swedish. Fitta. Anyway, so I'm sorry, all the Swedes right now who's listening not with headphones, and all of your relatives are listening right now. I apologize for this. I really apologize for that. Anyway, so I'm a little bit scared actually to try to run it. Suka fitta perkele kurva vaffan cool. Sorry, I'm a truly Mr. Worldwide, am I? So new content, like we have to provide this kind of thing. So this is not this is button. Fuck. My language model fucked up a little bit. So that's what I wanted to do. All right. Do you see this shit? Holy fuck. Oh, holy, it works. First try, motherfucker. First try. Holy shit. Oh, that is so fucking cool. So yeah, that actually worked. Unironically fucking worked. Absolute budgeting. Oh, so fucking cool. I hope my neighbors are not gonna kill me for for all of that. So let's try to do a little bit of a logging, a pogging. Logging. So let's try to be a little bit quieter this time. So and after that, after a single port, what we're gonna do? So clip. I don't quite know what is clip. I remember somebody in the chat said that clip is sort of like a scissors, right? So let's actually take a look at the definition of the clip command. Right, so mu clip command. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Rectangle. So I want to confirm that, right? So because how easy it is for me to confirm that? I think only by looking at the demo, right? So only by looking at the demo, I can confirm that it's actually scissors and not something else. Clip, and the demo doesn't even use that. The demo doesn't even use that. Well, at least I don't see. Well, it doesn't. Yeah. Well, yeah, it does use that. Okay. So did I? Yeah. So I think I just like did it weirdly. So this is the render. I searched it weirdly. It's a scissors. Okay, so GL is a scissors, so that's totally fine. So scissors, for those who doesn't know, OpenGL scissors. Basically, it's a function that accepts a rectangle, and now everything you draw is going to be only drawn within that sub-rectangle of the screen, and everything outside is going to be cut out. So you, right, so it's basically scissors, right? So you cut out this specific rectangle, that's what it is. So in OpenGL, there's this kind of operation. So as far as I know, in raylib, scissors, yeah, so you can start a scissors mode, right, and you can end a scissors mode, which is rather weird. I'm not quite sure how exactly we can map this entire thing. So what does it expect? Right. So it begins, right, so it expects you to call GL scissors. Right, it expects you to call GL scissors. You know what, I want to print what is the values of X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth. Not Z, but W and H. So this is going to be clip, and so we can do something like this. This is going to be clip, and so it's going to be D. Pause X, pause Y, width and height, and width and height, and width and height, and width and height. Oof. This one is interesting. It's... Are you fucking serious, bro? So, to undo scissors, it sets the clipping area from 0 to some sort of infinity or so. I guess fair? That's kind of funny, but okay. So is it explicit? Okay, so I can't find this number anywhere in microui, but maybe it's actually hex. Right, so does it mean anything in hex? Aha! Fucking got you, motherfucker. Alright, so let's actually copy paste it in here. So that should make it a little bit easier. There you go. So that moment, my face when I can tell you how exactly the code looks like just by looking at how the program behaves. It's even called and clipped rectangle. Fuck me. And it's a static motherfucker. It's even a static motherfucker. You know what we can do? We can actually maybe put it somewhere inside our code, like this. Right, it's a static, so we won't be able to see it or anything. And essentially, if the rectangle, right, if cmd rect, actually, yeah, this is not what I want. If cmd clip rect is equal to unclip rectangle, we're gonna do end scissors. Right, so how do you end? Yeah, end scissors mode, like so. Right, because raylib kind of expects you to have a sort of like nested scissors. So you begin scissor mode and you end scissor mode. Begin and end, begin and end. So, and we can kind of use a similar thing in here. The question is actually a very good question. How exactly raylib does begin scissors and end scissors? So let me actually see. I'm gonna do Visualizer, and like I do have source code of raylib in Visualizer. Let's actually go there. Let's straight up jump into end scissors. Yeah. So end C. Yeah, found you. This is core. Disable scissors test. But RL is also a custom raylib thing. How it is implemented? It simply does GL. Yeah. So unclipping in microui. Unclipping in microui is just set. Like, bro, here's the thing. The fact that you had to do this kind of hack means that you want to do disable scissor mode. You should have had additional parameter in the clip command that is true or false. Enable scissor mode, disable scissor mode. The fact that you even created this kind of shit means this is what you want. Let the renderer decide. Like, your intent is leaking through. Like, if you just had this additional bullet, you wouldn't even create. Like, come on. Or just emit a separate disable. Yeah, so some sort of a separate. Like, it's so obvious that you also want to do that, right? It's the universe screaming at you that you need to change your API. You didn't listen to the universe and you put this hack in here. Scissor these nuts? Well, yeah. Cheers. But anyway, we're gonna catch this hack and we're gonna redirect it. Where is my main? Yeah, so we can end scissors mode, and here we can begin scissors mode. So begin scissors mode, and in raylib, yeah, we have to provide X and Y and width and height. So position X, position Y, and width and height. There you go. So, and we implemented that, hopefully. Yeah, I'm not sure how well it is going to work. So, yeah, let's actually do the usual stuff. I don't really like the fact that we're printing on each individual frame in here, but I mean, is there anything we can do in here? Anyway, so what do we have? You can't compare, bro. C is shit. Can I do memcmp pointer to that? Pointer to that equal to 0. Can I just do that? Memcmp. But I mean, isn't that rectangles? Both of them are rectangles. This is a mu rect. Like, yeah, for real. I thought you could compare structs. That was a thing. To binary mu rect. Yeah. The last time I remember, C could compare structs, didn't it? It can assign structs, but it can't compare structs. So that's what it is. So I guess you have to do memcmp. Memcmp is like a strcmp, but it just like doesn't assume null termination or something like that. It will just compare bytes. Right. So, and if the bytes are equal, it will return 0 in here. And I suppose, ironically, it is implemented in strings, right? So So it's still kind of two R. Yeah, you also have to provide the size of this entire thing, right? So the amount of bytes. And that seems to be working, yeah. So now we have to do the text. So text command. Okay. So microui. Text command. I hope it is null terminated. I hope it is null terminated. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, so you have a position, you have a caller, and you have a string. Is that a flexible array member? I guess it was trying to emulate a flexible array member. Flexible array member. And the question is here, if it's a flexible array, so what that means is probably string goes outside of the structure. That's what it is, right? So string goes outside of the structure. And usually the modern C allows you to just write something like this indicating the flexible array member. But as far as I know, all the versions of C didn't allow you to do that. So you usually would do tricks like this, which is fine. So maybe it was designed for an older C. So, but we don't have a size of the string, so which means, I assume, this string is null terminated. Right, so let's actually confirm that by looking at the source code of microui. Yeah, push command. Okay. Ooh, look at that. So you have str, you take its length, and you push command, mu command text, and you mem copy and you null terminate. It is null terminated. It is null terminated. It is null terminated. We found the code which null terminates this kind of shit. Cool. What that means is that we can now just go ahead and just draw the text as it is. We can just do that. So let me see. Microui. So raylib and draw text. So there was a, not really text, but yeah, there we go. So here's the drawing the text. And in microui, where is the text? Yeah, so here it is. So I have a position, which is mu vector. Yeah, it's x and y, which is integer, and just caller, and yeah, everything seems to be fine. Everything seems to be fine. So this is the text. CMD text str. Right. Oh, and the fact that it's an array, it will decay into a pointer, so it will act like a string. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool. I really like that. CMD text. So we have a position x, something like that. I really like how directly they just map to each other. Almost. Font size. We have a special font size in here, and for the caller. Yeah, so we do have a caller in here, CMD text caller, which we can take a pointer of and pawn it to the pointer in here, and of course we can just dereference this entire thing, and that's it basically. So mu command icon. I'm not really sure if we want to do anything about the icon. So for now, I'm gonna just ignore the icon, and because I want to take a look at the yeah. So it doesn't give a shit about the text size, as you can see. So remember how I was increasing the size of the text? Yeah, it doesn't give a shit about it for some reason. I have no idea why. Which is rather an interesting thing. So measure text. Let's take a look at what is going on. So maybe it just returns an incorrect value somewhere here. So measure text width for default fonts. We provide the font size and everything, and yeah, it just like didn't freaking, you know, return anything specific. Right, maybe those widgets don't care. Well, let's first fix, like, double check everything. Whatever. Okay, so text width d abort. Let's do it like that. So what do we got in here? Ooh, something is weird. That's for sure. Okay, so we also have some sort of a text in here. Right, so this is going to be const char text. And let's just print this entire thing and see what the fuck it is. Yeah, so it gave us like a garbage. I think I suspect why. No, not because of that. does it not properly format this thing? I don't remember. Ooh, so if I just try to print it as a string, I don't even put, okay, so this is what I did in here, okay. Yeah, I'm already tired, chat. Calm down. I'm already tired. I'm gonna close the chat because I know what you're gonna say. Whatever. All right. So yeah, 20. Okay, and then there's no text in here per se. I don't quite remember like where I have to put. Yeah, there we go. So now it works. So that's how it's supposed to be. So, and now let me put this kind of stuff back. So that was the problem. So I just used this thing incorrectly. I was holding it wrong. No. Okay, so that's already interesting. Damn. So, okay, one more time. So, but maybe that's the case. Maybe widgets really do not care about all that stuff. Yep, so it measures all of them, but yeah. So what kind of widgets do we have in here? We have buttons, right? So here it tries to measure them, though. It tries to measure them. Microui, and yeah, so here it is. So here's the label. We provide the label and stuff like that. So you get ID. This is ID is needed to identify within the layout and stuff like that. Draw control text. Draw. I suppose this is the draw control frame, right? So this is a draw control frame. Maybe they do not care. All right, so let's try to make them smaller. All right, so I'm gonna put 10 in here, and let's, yeah, so that kind of, but I really want it to be, oh, I can move it around and everything. That's actually kind of cool. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what exactly is going on in here. And by the way, what we need to do in here, we need to also clear background. Clear background, let's actually use black in here. Or maybe, I remember there was a white, like a raylib white, so it's a little bit more obvious. So here it is. Here are the buttons and stuff like that, and here's the hello world. Right, but I really want to change the size of this entire thing, right, somehow. So because it's like very difficult to see. It's very difficult to see, so that's kind of interesting. So we can take a look at the demo. When it comes to the demo and drawing the text, so where is the text command when I do draw text? So it's part of the renderer. It's a part of the renderer, and it's actually no. It's more like a text width, right? So you get the text width. And renderer. So what's the point of getting the text width if you don't freaking use it? So that's the real question in here. That's the real question. If you don't use it in the final like layout, what's the point of it all? It's just really weird. And maybe whenever you call the function to create a new window, you're passing in the size of the rectangle. Well, let's just see. We can try to do that. And everything is computed relative to the size of that rectangle. Right, so, okay, I can set it to maybe 300 by 300, and everything is going to be related to that. So we don't really pass anything anymore. So layout row and stuff, okay. Okay, so, but again, it's just like, I don't fucking know. Layout row. So my window. So I'm curious about this stuff. So microui. Widths, several of them. Look at that. Widths and a single height. So you create a row and you have this single width and the next one is 0. And then height, and the amount of items. What if I make the row 1? 0. And what 0 means? 0 is something default, isn't it? 0 is something default. So it's a row and you have several items. Let me take a look at that one more time. So we create a... Yeah, okay. So label and button, label and button, label. Okay, I see what's going on. Label and button. So label, button. And this is a pop-up, but it's a pop-up only is opened when you press this button. Okay, that explains it. It's a little bit weird, but I think I can get used to that. So what if I have 3 of them? Very interesting. Really bizarre. If I say 20, okay, 50, finally, okay, so that's basically how it's supposed to be. All right, so we can move it around, obviously. And so now font size, I can maybe set it to 20. That's a little bit bigger. Now, so this is 60. What if I set this to 100? So this is the width of the first sort of column. Yeah, I see. And -1 means it's like the rest of the width. The rest of the width. So which means in here, I can maybe set something like 28. You kind of have to do that yourself, don't you? Right, you kind of have to do that yourself, which is a little bit annoying. Right, but I suppose I can get used to that. So let's say it's a 24. I think 24 is fine. I want to be able to change the size of this thing, but maybe it redirects me to a wrong thing. That is, I'm gonna close this demo because it redirects me to this demo. This is not what I want. I'm gonna keep 20. All right, so something like that. So here's the button 1 pressed. This thing is a pop-up, and it doesn't even set the pop-up to the size. Something with using the size of the font, it literally ignores it, which is I'm not a big fan of. With both width and height, we can try to do that. Okay, so -1 and -1. It's like there's no button anymore. So I think you literally have to set, yeah, so you literally have to adjust everything yourself, right? So you can't really do anything about that. And I can't even adjust the border, the frame thingy, right? So the upper bar, I would even say, upper bar is not even that adjustable. So yeah. Okay. So I suppose you can also create second window by just copy pasting this code. I don't even have to copy paste it, honestly. Has said I can't. Can I just do that in a loop? Right, so I can create 2 of them. So this is the one, and this is the second one. There we go. So there are going to be 2 of them. You can't see them, but oh, ooh, something is fucked. I think we broke it. I think we literally broke it because it probably created 2 windows with the same ID. Yeah, so we have to create different titles. How can we even do that? We could do text format. And I'll just put D in here. This is I. Will that work? Windows 1, okay, so this is basically what we have, and they have a little bit of a Z stuff, so that's pretty cool. So you can have several of them, and in fact, we can even change their positions slightly by doing plus 10 multiplied by I. We can even say, okay, so 10 multiplied by I, maybe even 20. I think 20 is going to be even better. And let's just create 5 of them. Let's create 5 of them. There we go. So we have 5 windows in here. So this is that's pretty cool. So 5 windows and just like yeah. So button 1 pressed, but we can. I think we can even identify button 1 of which window. button 1 of window D is pressed, something like that. Right now I can just click, okay, so here's that, button 1 of window 2 pressed. So we can even distinguish them. So you can have like a UI, straight up UI with this kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool. And you can control how many of the windows you can create. So if you don't like that many windows, right? So there's only one. Only one in here. So I don't like the bright background. Something like black would have been a little bit better. So let's actually keep it black. Right? So that's a little bit better. So what other components do we have in this UI library? I can't close this entire thing for some reason. Oh, my keyboard has died. Yeah. So my keyboard has been dying the entirety of the stream, so I don't really know. There we go. All right. So if I take a look at this thing, so there is a button, new button. Let's go into microui, new button, text box. So yeah, that's very interesting. So let's put this text box. So you also have to provide the buffer and buffer size. So extended. So it also accepts OPT and stuff like that, and it also returns an integer. So which probably indicates something, maybe pressing enter or whatever. Let's give this thing a try. Let's give this thing a try. So I'm gonna just go here. And I'm sure it's not going to work because we don't have handling of the keys, right? So, but we can add it very quickly. So here's the le button, here is the pop-up, and I'm pretty sure I can just add this thing in here. So here's the context, CTX, buffer, size of buffer, so we can remove XT, and OPT is going to be just available in here. So I'm going to ignore the integer. So let's, I'm not even sure how to allocate the buffer. We can create a single buffer for all of them, but which is going to be dangerous if we're going to create several windows, right? So we have to be a little bit careful. 256 I think should be enough for everybody. All right, so what do we have in here? And here is this thing, and I can't even type in there. I can't even type in there. I kind of would like it to actually be like have different size. I wonder, can I just create like right after here, another row which has one single item, which is size -1, and I want it height to be something like this. So every time I create a layout row, does it like just create another row with other properties and stuff like that? So will that stretch that text box to the entirety of the thing? So let's see. It will. I figured it out. So here is the text box. Here is the text box. That's actually kind of cool. So yeah, and so we can't type anything. Look at that. We can't type because we don't handle the key input. So let's go into the raylib, get key pressed, yeah, and let's feed all of that information into microui. So so this is going to be that, get key pressed, and I'm thinking, so this is going to be key, while key equal to that, we need to feed that into the thing. So microui input key up, key down. So, but it's a pressed. And pressed is a up and down, if I'm not mistaken, right? So is key pressed? If key has been pressed once, okay. We can do like up and down, I suppose. So let's just copy paste this thing. So it's going to be down and up. I think that's going to be a little better. So here's the context, and let's just put a key in here. Yeah, and as far as I know, get key pressed returns 0 on, yeah, when it's finished. Return 0 when queue is empty. Okay, okay, that's cool, that's cool. Doesn't work. Doesn't fucking. I don't know. So let's actually try a different thing. So what if every time I press this key, I'm gonna feed E like this. I'm gonna focus. It doesn't react to that whatsoever. The fucker doesn't react. The fucker doesn't react, unfortunately. So let me see. In microui, do you have keys? So we have shift, control, blah blah blah. I guess the time has come to look into the demo and see how, you know, the keys are fed into microui. So mu input key down. All right. So yeah, you probably have to do some sort of a mapping. So you take a symbol. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it maps really well in our case. I suspect that maybe there should be some sort of a time between key up and key down. I hope it doesn't write directly into the buffer. Maybe it does. It knows the size of the buffer, so that should be fine. Doesn't work because key up right after key down, maybe. Yeah, so I did a fucky wacky, but because I'm already tired. Well, I mean key down, key up, right? So we can just keep key down, right? So doesn't matter. Okay. What about key? Doesn't matter. All right, very interesting. So let me see. Can I just print those things? Key pressed. While key equal to. Well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Key. Yeah. Okay. So it finds them. So, but it doesn't feed them. You need text events. What? I don't fucking understand. So, all right. So maybe is there text events? Text input. So let's take a look at mu input. Oh, there's literally okay. Sure. Let's fucking go. I thought it's gonna be purely key and shit. And text, it literally wants text. Okay, text format. Do I have a text events in raylib? Text. I'm not sure actually. Text insert. Raylib text input. Input box. Okay. Get char pressed. Ooh, this one is interesting. So get, ooh, this is cool. Get char pressed. So not get key pressed, but get char pressed. Get char pressed. So can char's q return 0. Get char pressed Unicode. Ooh, this is actually super cool. It gives you Unicode, but can I render Unicode to UTF-8 or something like that? There should be a way to do that. Unicode. UTF-8. So just UTF. So load UTF. Could aha. All right. Ooh, encodes 1 code point UTF byte array length is returned. We can do shit like that. This is insane. So I get that. Then I get char pressed, which is a Unicode. Okay, my neighbors are doing something weird. And this is the size. Do I care about it or is it null terminated though? Code point to UTF. So let's go to the source code of Visualizer. Okay. This is not that. Aha, so it uses internal buffer, first of all. All right, so up to 6, right? Usually Unicode is never 6 bytes, by the way, right? So maximum is 4, but technically UTF-8 may accommodate 6. And they also always null terminated, aren't they? Does it ensure that it's null? It doesn't ensure that it's null terminated, unfortunately. Yikes. But yeah, as you can see, it's never going to be 6, but it still holds 6. But since it's null terminated, I think the last ones are going to be 6. But it also doesn't ensure. Yeah, so one of the things we can do, we can directly write into it and ensure that it's null terminated. So that's one thing to do. So this is going to be size. And I'm going to put the size in here. All right, and then text const. Let's keep it. Does it return const? Motherfucker returns const. You're annoying. Why are you doing that? Okay, so that means we can't really do it like that. So this is the text and this is size. All right, so we can always just like text format then. So, and if I remember correctly, it was this thing. We put that in here, size, text, just format this entire stuff, and let's feed this entire thing in here. This is one thing we can do. And in here, as you can see, we do a similar stuff. So does it do UTF-8 in here? It doesn't even do UTF-8, right? So it probably just directly renders Unicode points and stuff. All right, so that's what we're doing in here, right? So we just get what character was pressed, which is a Unicode point. We convert a Unicode point to UTF-8 chunk, and we just make it null terminated, and we feed it into input. Hopefully that will, you know, do some things. Right, so let me try to do that, and if I try to, okay, kind of works, but then sometimes if I type too fast, it loses focus. All right, because probably it doesn't accumulate things properly, but we can type things. Backspace doesn't work either. So kind of churning, right? So, but you need to work a little bit more to like feed the data in there. So do they do anything special in here to handle the input? So yeah, so they accumulate. Yeah, you have to keep accumulating these things. You know what I think we have to do in here? We have to accumulate that into some sort of a buffer, and once we're done accumulating, we have to basically feed it at once into new input text. We could actually have a string builder from knob. I'm gonna go into the knob because it's actually super convenient to use it in here, I think. So let's include this is going to be knob.h define knob implementation, and now, so this is a buffer. What was it? What we did? So this is for the text input, right? So that's understandable. So string builder is going to be sb like this. Also static. Let's keep it static. Okay. So every time I start in here, I set sb count to 0. So now, by the way, I don't really need to even do this kind of thing because I have a text and I have a size. So what I can do is sb append buffer, where I provide sb and text and its size, and it just appends all of these things into the buffer. Then I can do sb append, I think it was null or something, so it appends like a null terminator in here, and I can just like use this buffer in here like so. So in the next iteration is going to be set to 0, and it reuses the memory that it allocates because it's sort of like a stretchy buffer. So let's give it a try. So yeah, sb append string builder. I probably also need to do strip prefix. So what else do we have in here? Okay, so still loses, and funnily enough, still loses focus. I don't really know what's up with that. When I press X, it loses focus. That is very interesting. So I'm gonna put that. Yeah, something about X and it just loses focus. I don't really know what's up with that. You pull the characters wrongly, probably. Let's see. So how do they pull the characters? Just in a loop, I suppose. Just in a loop. Main.c, where is my main key? So here's the key. I get key, it gets assigned to key, and the expression itself returns the value key. So, and if it's 0, it's gonna skip the entire thing. And yeah, I should have done it like this, so that means I also have to do something like this. Yeah, so that's basically what's going on here. Nothing really changes. Some keys make it lose the focus. So maybe I'm doing something wrong in here, whatever. It's just like I'm already tired. You're not accumulating the text. I'm already accumulating the text. I didn't change anything. So we can do things, but it acts a little bit weirdly, whatever, right? So what other components do we have in here? Do we have any other interesting components? Right, so let's see. Mu button. I remember there was a slider, right? So slider is rather interesting. So let's give it a try. So it accepts the value, by the way. Does it have to be pointer? Yeah, it has to be pointer, and it's a mu real, and it's a float. Okay, very useful aliases. Very useful aliases. Okay, so let me see. So this is a wrong demo. Let me close it. So here is the text box providing the context. So we could probably do something like static mu real value, initially 0, and so we can just provide the value. It's going from 0 to 260, right? So something like that. And we could map this entire thing to the color of the background, right? So because raylib, in fact, enables you to get a color from HSV. So from HSV, where, you know, hue is a degree from 0 to 360. So we could put this kind of thing in here. So this is going to be value. And in fact, since it's called value, I think it should be called hue. I'm going to put hue in here. So we'll put 1 and 1 in here. So it's a saturation and value. That's what it is. Let's see if it's going to do anything. So value, this is a hue. Oh, right. So, which means, yeah, so you can do shit. Yep. That's so cool. So yeah, it's pretty convenient. So these two libraries, microui and raylib, they synergize each other. They really synergize each other. This is actually super cool. Yep. So, but this is just a hue. We can also have saturation from 0 to 1 and value, right? So like actual value. And where is the hue? Saturation value and clear background. I can just put them in here, like so. So now I can increase the value like this, and then I can increase or decrease saturation, right? So value is basically like brightness. It's basically like brightness. Saturation is how much of a certain color you have, and hue is the certain color, right? So for example, I want to make a dark blue. Where is the blue? Here is the blue. So somewhere here, like this. I want it to be a little bit more saturated, right? So, and now I want to make it darker. So there you go, I made it dark blue. But maybe I want to make it blue like this, right? So that's actually how easy it is to think about the colors in HSV space, right? So that's pretty cool. microui is very cool library. I really like it. So what do you guys think? Is it a cool library? Is it a cool library? What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts? I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I might even use it for something. Right. So, and don't mind the fonts. Font is the default font of raylib. We can always change it to something, right? So just like the microui library doesn't mandate what kind of font you can use, right? So you can use whatever. It's just like it depends on the renderer. And I really like the fact that like it fits raylib, right? So they just, you know, complement each other really, really well. So, and it deserves a star, right? So straight up deserves a star. Cool library. 9 out of 10. We'll use again, probably. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. Really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you all on the next Recreational programming session with Mr. Azozin. I love you. Mwah. Oh.